So, in my early 20s, going through different houses and, renting properties, they obviously had gardens with them. And I didn't really care for the garden when I was growing up in my early 20s. I had better things to do. So, I didn't know the cost of what gardening entails. And for some weird reason, as soon as I hit 30, it was just like, bam, a light bulb goes off, the old light bulb goes off, and then it's just like, hey, you like this now. And so it was literally like that. And as soon as I hit 30, I decided, oh, you know what? I actually want to make the garden look nice. I want to, make some improvements and maybe start a garden bed and things like this. And I was rudely awakened by the sheer cost of how much shit costs just to make your garden look nice. Even if you're on a budget, right? I started realizing quite quickly when I had a little idea in my head about, oh, I might want to get a tree. I quite like trees. Again, I knew nothing in my 20s. I'm starting to look at trees and I realised that, hey, you can buy one that's like this big. Yeah, so it's just a baby. It's not even a tree really, is it? And that's I don't know, £10, something like that. But if you want an actual tree that you can plant and it's like the size of me so you can start seeing, something already, 80 to 200 quid. I was like, okay, I guess I won't get a tree then. So I'm just wondering, I'm putting this video out because I'm just wondering, people are like, what is this video? I'm wondering whether there's anybody else that literally got to a stage in their life, whether it was 25, 30, heck, even 50, and then all of a sudden you went from not caring about the garden to really wanting to have flowers in the garden, and I want to bring in some bees, and just wanting to make it better. And you also didn't realise the sheer cost of things because I'd never looked before, right? I didn't maintain the gardens when I was younger. I will be genuinely honest. I remember one house that I used to rent. Looking back now, I see how overgrown that garden was and what I needed to do, but my mind was nowhere in the garden scene. So has this happened to you? Have you not been bothered about it at all? And then all of a sudden you just get this, I don't know, it's the old switch goes on and it's just oh, you like this now. And it's I don't know, for you it might have been golf or something, that's technically associated with old people. Even though so many young people garden, right? This is completely not factually true. I'm not saying this is true. I'm just saying it's the going thing, yeah? A lot of gardeners are young now and they're starting to, come into the scene, especially with YouTube, because I went to YouTube to look for things to do for the garden, right? Because I, again, had no idea what I'm doing when I decided, oh, I want to grow a veg garden. It's not just as easy as, hey, get your soil and throw it in. You can do that. But I started researching and realising, oh, hey, I've got really heavy clay soil. And with that soil, you're going to need to improve it. And the way that you improve it is by buying compost or stuff. And then you turn it in. And I'm like, all right, well, how much does that cost? Turns out quite a lot. And all of the years that I was in my 20s, I could have learnt about this. I could have been composting and I could have had my own compost. So don't be like me, right? Don't be like me. Actually, I can't even say this because I honestly had no gardening finger in my fucking bone. I just did not care about it. And I really wish I could go back to my former self and be like, hey, by the way, bitch, I know you don't care right now, but please just start saving all of your vegetable scraps and just make a compost bin, because in the future, you're going to need all of this. You're going to need all this soil and it's going to cost you a lot of money. So just keep it. But I can't do that, right? So now I'm struggling with the fact that how do you make your garden better on a budget, but not too much of a budget, right? Because I have botched my life completely. Everything in my life has pretty much been botched. Just gonna Just gonna be honest, right? I don't have anything luxury that I can be like, right, actually, the only thing I do is my laptop, right? That's the only luxury thing that is my laptop, and you know, the only thing really. Everything else I do is always bodged or cheap or done on like, do you know what I mean? You must know what I mean, yeah? If you're like me, I guess you call it frugal or fucking, it's just survival, really, innit? Like, just trying to do things as cheap as possible for you to get by. So when I started looking at like cheap things to be able to do for the garden, obviously vegetable beds, you can make them, right? So I started learning that you can do a lot of things cheaper, but I also wanted to make sure that these things lasted as well, right? So, people would tell me as well, all throughout my life, you know, gardening costs a lot of money, and I just didn't listen to them because I didn't care, obviously. My mind was not there. So I was warned all these years, and so now I am again on a search for doing that little bit out. Well, I've got a little square section of the front of my garden that I want to sort out, basically. So I'm now on a mission to get that sorted on a cheap budget. Now, I do everything myself, right? I don't fucking call nobody in to do nothing. So again, right, back-breaking work, right? Back-breaking work. I'm relatively young, and I know that gardening is a thing that a lot of older people do. Oh my God, how do you do it? How do you do it? Because I'm telling you right now, I'm 36 and I struggle to get up at the end of the day. If I've been gardening and I have to get up, my knees will click, they'll lock up. I don't know how you guys that are like 50, 60, 70 plus out there gardening all day, like, I take my hat off to you. Like, I honestly, I don't know how you do it. My body gives up. The thing is, as well, right, you can go down a complete rabbit hole with this as well. So, like I say, turned 30, decided that, hey, I want to do gardening. Now, me in particular, my personality, I guess, I'm very much a researcher. So if something piques my interest, I won't just go at it immediately. I will research about it to see whatever I can. So that's what I did. And whilst researching, I started learning more about mushroom compost, worm castings, and all of these good beneficial micro things that live in the earth and things like that, right, to help your plants and specifically vegetables. Because at this point I went from flowers to I want to grow my own veg now, obviously. So I was looking into all of this and all of the fertilizer that you can get and what's the best soil and do you do a raised bed or do you do containers, and I was so blown away with the amount of different options and availability for anybody to do gardening in any way, basically. Like, I know that doesn't really make sense, but okay, you can grow potatoes in a cardboard box. There you go. There you go. You can literally grow potatoes in a fucking cardboard box, right? But that's not going to get you the best yield. So looking into this, I'm like, well, I do want to get the best like yield, you know? And with that starts to come the, you know, maybe the pots that have got specific holes in them for aeration, or the potato bags or the veg bags, or, you know, personally, I started looking into it and realised how much stuff there was to learn about, really. But again, my personality, that's what I did. So I went straight into it and I learned a shit ton of stuff, right? But the thing is with me is I know a little about a lot, right? I heard that phrase before and I absolutely love it. I know a little about a lot. And so it takes somebody to mention something and it will get triggered in my head that I know something to do with that. Right, so if you have any like questions in the future to do with planting or veg growing or anything like that, if you have anything, write it down, because that will trigger something in my memory if I know about it, right? So I just had to say that right here and now because I'll forget otherwise. So I've learned these little things over the years and I've picked it all up and I have all this knowledge here and I want to bring it to you guys as well, right? So you'll see some videos on my channel where I've started doing veg and you guys can come along and grow with me. So just get your seeds, get any seeds that you want to grow, vegetable seeds mainly is what I'm going to be going and doing on here. So just get your seeds, and as and when you decide you want to do it, I mean, early spring is the best time now to get all your seeds growing. So follow along if that's something you like to do. But the whole point of this was the fact that I've now learned so much over these years. And basically what I've learned is that gardening is as expensive as you want to make it. Like, if you have tons of money and you've got thousands to be able to, like, do that, pop off, do it, because I wish I did. But for those of us that don't have an extravagant amount of money to be able to landscape our houses like that, there are ways in which we can do it and make it look half decent as well, right? Because at the end of the day, it can be an expensive hobby. I class this as a hobby, can be a very expensive hobby. And if it's something that you really, really enjoy doing, and for me, it really helps with mental health. So I don't know whether it helps you guys. I'm pretty sure it does, because for me, right, personally, I can't meditate. I found out I got ADHD. Makes complete sense as to why I haven't been able to do it all these years. I can't do it. I literally cannot do it. But if I'm out in the garden and I'm sitting there on the bench just with a cup of tea and I'm watching bees, literally as simple as bees going over to the plants, like, that I have for them, that makes my day. Like, I can sit there, zone out, and watch that bee, and nothing else matters in the world. Like, literally nothing else matters, right? That to me is meditation. So this is a hobby that I have to keep up, really, for my own personal sense, and for my own self. So it can be an expensive hobby, and I just wanted to put it out there and just see whether there's anybody else that decided, hey, I'm gonna, do this, and it turned out to be much more expensive than you thought.